hopefully I will. Just a quick background on me. I was a K-12 teacher for a number of years in Northern California, up in Sierra County and in Mendocino County, before going back to school and studying educational counseling and educational leadership, which led me to Santa Barbara City College. So I am currently the dual enrollment coordinator here. And when I came on board, we were just launching our freshman seminar course using career choices. My dean had actually led that movement. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background and tell you how we got started, but really focus on the curriculum because I know that's why you've all tuned in today. And we'll definitely have time for questions at the end. So I'll go over the background of this whole initiative as well as just why we were able to link it with the college through the dual enrollment program, and then going into what's happening in the curriculum, not just in 9th grade, but in the follow-up modules in grades 10 through 12, and how that's leading to a successful matriculation at the college. So I'm going to go quickly through the background slides. I know this is sort of preaching to the choir since you're all educators, but we've all seen the educational pipelines and know that there's a huge need to improve this, this graphic, if you will. We want to see a much larger completion rate with post-secondary studies, and reducing the need for remediation is a key concern for those of us in the community college system, because this is just one statistic, but we see very dire statistics around English and math remediation. We know dropout is a concern in different regions. For us locally, our high school graduation rates are quite good, but what we notice is that the college-going rate is not matching the high school graduation rate, nor is the completion of A through G college preparatory courses. So we definitely are taking note of that and looking for ways to improve that, which is, again, part of the impetus for this initiative. We know there's numerous factors that influence dropout, and we know some of them may be beyond our control, but we are working closely with our local Thrive initiative, that's the Cradle to Career initiative, that's working with the younger grades in the first 5 funding that's come from the state, and looking at what are the early benchmarks in kindergarten, 3rd, all the math benchmarks, 6th grade, getting through algebra, all of those points of checking in on students' progress to see how it's correlated, and really studying the data in our own region, as I'm sure all of you are doing in your regions as well. We know that there are a number of strategies that are working on remedying the dropout issue and helping students to get on track. This is just a sample list of what we have in our community. One of the challenges we've noticed, however, is that as wonderful as these programs are, they've been offered in siloed format to select groups of students. And one of the things I talk a lot about with our teachers locally is AVID principles, because I've been to AVID teacher trainings. I think they're wonderful practices. And my argument would be that good teaching strategies would be useful for all teachers. So, you know, if we know that there are strategies working at AVID, perhaps those should be offered to all teachers in the same way that those strategies for students could be beneficial for all students. So what we're aiming to do is reach all students in an equitable manner and then help plug them into the resources that are available as they progress through high school into post-secondary and career. So really accentuating the positives of these programs, but trying to make sure all students know about them. You've all seen this graphic, I'm sure. This is something we show to the students. We realized that by 2018, over 60% of jobs will require that students have some level of education beyond high school. So that's, of course, correlated with not just the income potential, but keeping them employed over the course of their adult working lives. We know that at the secondary and post-secondary levels, there are a number of outcome measures that we are held accountable to by the state and by our districts. So this is just a sample of what we're trying to improve. We know that, you know, standardized testing and placement scores at the college are not necessarily the data we'd like to look at, but we have the funding dollars attached to those sort of items, and we definitely know that we need to see improvement because of the correlation between student performance and persistence and completion rates. So this is sort of the question to lead off. If there was a program that could reach all of your students and increase their intrinsic motivation, you know, what would that look like? And we've started out sort of from the ground up, but I know you had a chance to watch the 10-year plan, Why a 10-Year Plan video, and I think that that sets a great foundation of the need to plan for not only post-secondary success, but for what happens in one's adult and future life. So a short background on dual enrollment. We've had dual enrollment going on actually since the late 80s with a few sections, and when the legislation changed in the 90s, our program expanded greatly. So we have about 100 sections each semester taught out at our local high schools, in addition to students coming to City College and to the main campus for classes. In 2009, that's when I came on board in my role here at City College, and the freshman course was being piloted at that time using career choices. So that has, again, developed into this much larger initiative called Get Focused, Stay Focused. So currently we have classes through dual enrollment offered in both academic and career technical disciplines, and you can see our non-duplicative headcount is between 2,500 and 3,000 a year. And I've been working with folks at Shasta College for the last few years in their program expansion and development as we continue to refine our own practices. There are not many dual enrollment programs in the state of California. So the other programs like Shasta and Mount San Jacinto, who have programs in place, have been wonderful partners with us. I did a study last year, actually for my doctoral program, in looking at our dual enrollment data. And what we found was that students who participated, and mind you, all of this data was before the career choices implementation, but what we noticed was that students who had early exposure to college were more likely to enroll full-time when they matriculated. They had a reduced need for remediation, earned a higher GPA, and more transferable units, which we would assume would lead to higher transfer rates and degree completion rates. The origins of the entire initiative, again, were in 2009, and actually it was early 2009 when my dean, Dr. Diane Hollins, went to the Career Choices workshop in San Francisco. She was invited by, I believe, another retired dean. And when she heard about the curriculum, she was thinking about our dual enrollment program. At the time, we had received an Irvine Foundation grant to expand our concurrent courses, and Shasta was part of that project as well. And she saw the appropriate linkage between the freshman course and a career technical course that we already had on our books at the college called Personal Planning. So she brought the idea back to Santa Barbara, invited our local educators and administrators to a workshop, and had a great turnout. And in fall 2009, Carpinteria High School began the program for all freshmen, and a couple of the other high schools began a few sections to try it out. Over the course of the next year, we saw an increased interest, good data coming back, and we were able to expand the course, and I'll talk a little bit about that later with our implementation. But as you can see, we've had over 2,000 students enroll for dual credit for this course since we started. I'm going to show a brief video, and you can see a few student voices. This would be our first cohort of students. This was shortly after they finished the freshman course at the start of their sophomore year.
Santa Barbara City College already had one of the largest, most successful dual enrollment programs in the country when Dean Diane Hollins learned about the Freshman Transition Initiative developed by the George Washington University. She immediately online 10-year plans in high school would consequently lead to increased enrollment and retention of full-time students at the college. Dr. Hollins knew that too often high schools focused on just getting students into college without preparing them to actually succeed there. Even if they enroll in college, students that don't see the relevance of education to their lives are likely to drop out.
Most of the time, when students, even good students, complete high school, they still don't have a clear picture or focus about what they want to be or what their major should be.
So she took the freshman transition model one step further. Working with the Santa Barbara and Carpinteria school districts, she implemented a dual enrollment freshman transition course, mandatory for all freshmen in 2 schools based on the Freshman Transition Initiative.
But students who come to college knowing what they want to be and having researched that are going to finish, and that's huge. That's why the investment in a ninth grade course.
Freshmen are enrolled in the city college and the high school simultaneously and receive 3 units on their college transcripts upon completing the high school-based semester-long class. In this rigorous, in-depth course, students choose their own career paths after carefully examining their strengths, interests, and lifestyle requirements. They leave with comprehensive online 10-year plans that are unique to each of their chosen careers.
I think the 10-year plan is a really important part of the transition between secondary and post-secondary education because students have been forced to critically analyze what drives them. It's made their education student-centered.
My 10-year plan was to finish high school and go to San Diego City College and finish my prerequisites to become a veterinarian. And I'd like to transfer to UC Davis and graduate with a doctorate degree in veterinary sciences.
I really want to be an architect, going to Oregon, the University of Oregon, and maybe traveling around the U.S., building different homes.
I personally want to be a doctor, but it's going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of hard work and the grades to do it. But I think I can do it because I have the grades for it.
Funded by the James Irvine Foundation, this unique dual enrollment initiative helps all students, including groups typically underrepresented in higher education, to view themselves as actual college students. This helps them to feel confident that they have what it takes to excel in college.
I think to me, I see them working hard. They're getting, they have to get the material, they have to complete the project that they would be doing on the City College campus, and they do it. And so they're very much capable, very much willing, and I think that rather than questioning them about whether they're capable, it's encouraging them that they are.
With exciting, meaningful goals and all the steps laid out to achieve them, students take high school performance far more seriously. As a result, they are more likely to successfully complete relevant post-secondary education or training. This gives them the best chance to live productive, fulfilling lives.
I did all my homework, all the little lectures that we did, where I sat in class and why am I doing this? Really made me wonder how much longer am I going to have to be stuck in a classroom. But now, because of career choices, I don't think of it as me being stuck in a classroom. I think of it as me getting ready for my life. Well, when I was a freshman, I was taking pretty easy classes, just kind of doing my homework, in the morning, not really trying as hard. And after taking the class, I realized how much, applying yourself really matters because, even if you want to be a doctor or just, part-time job, your education really matters, and the choices that you make now really affect how it is, in your future. So this year I'm taking more AP classes and a dual enrollment class.
Whether or not the student down the road continues with the format that they created way back in 9th grade, they've learned how to set goals. And they've learned how to check on those goals. And then hopefully they can look back and see that they've completed those goals. And that's huge.
What's the result of a dual enrollment freshman transition course? Sierra Saragosa probably says it best.
If you like school and everything, different programs are always talking about how you get to college, and after we really talk about what you do after. Especially when I really helped me realize that there's life after college, and everything I'm doing now is working for after college, not just for college.
So that's just a snapshot of what the students had to say after that first year. So the Santa Barbara City College Progression in Education model stemmed from the freshman course, and what we're trying to do again is reach students in a comprehensive way. This is a handout that kind of outlines what's happening at each grade level, but I'm just going to go onto this slide because this explains it. So on the graphic, we show that we start with an 8th to 9th grade bridge program, and this looks different based on each school. Some schools have taken, a few-week approach in the summer. Some have done different cohorts of students for 1 week at a time, really introducing them to the language of the high school, understanding A through G requirements, graduation requirements, familiarizing them with the culture of high school, and the familiarity with the curriculum so that when they enter freshman seminar, they're actually ahead of other students. They've actually, at some schools, identified students who had D's and F's in 8th grade as a way of sort of boosting them up in the summer and acknowledging that they are going to be ahead of the curve knowing about the freshman course. So in addition to the Summer Bridge program, we had one school actually offer career choices in the summer last year for a group of students who weren't going to be able to take the semester-long version. So we have this dual enrollment freshman course in the 9th grade. They create a 10-year plan. There are follow-up curriculum units based on 16 hours, because at the college that's the equivalent of a 1-unit course. And I'm going to go into detail later in what happens in each of those grade levels. The goal being that students will enter college or any post-secondary plan with a clear focus, because they've done extensive research throughout the 4 years of high school. We want them to stay on that focused plan and complete in a reasonable amount of time. So for us at the community college level, that could be a certificate program, an associate's degree, or general education curriculum required for transfer. If students do come in with a need for basic skills remediation, we want them to go into one of our learning community models so they can get through that program in an accelerated time. The Career Choices curriculum, I know some of you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but hopefully you saw some of the videos. It basically goes through 3 sections. Who am I, what do I want, and how do I get it? And what we noticed is a lot of students have never really evaluated the Who Am I piece. I'm actually teaching the college version on our campus right now for the first time, and I'm noticing that students aren't often asked to identify their values and their passions and their interests and goals, and to really align what's important to the core of who they are with their future aspirations. They get a lot of messages from media, from friends, from their parents, and it's almost the first time for these students that anybody has said, who are you? What makes you unique and what makes you tick? What motivates you to work hard and do well? The middle portion of the course, the what do I want, is developing financial literacy, which is hugely important, and we know that there's a need for this as we see students accruing debt, not understanding financial aid in college, and really not understanding what it takes to be an independent, contributing member of society, paying taxes, and having a job to support themselves and their families. So what we see is that unit in the middle is where the light bulb goes off for students, and they say, wow, you know, I think I want to be a professional soccer player, but in case that doesn't happen, I'm going to have some other things in mind that I'm pursuing with just as much passion because I want to keep my options open. The how do I get it is where they go into the in-depth research, and that leads to the development of the actual career and education plan. So they're building it in stages as they go through the curriculum. Most of our teachers find that it's beneficial to have students on the 10-year plan early in the semester so they start incrementally building the plan and then refining it as they go through. So at the end, it's been edited, it's been fully thought through, and students exit with a wonderful portfolio that will take them forward. And again, now with the follow-up modules, they'll revisit it and continue updating it as their interests change over time, because we know that's going to happen as well. We certainly want to introduce them to all the industry sector pathways. That's really important. We are a community college, so we use a lot of the resources from the Chancellor's office to introduce all the career technical pathways. And I think the personal development for students is the key of the entire program. So again, you had a chance to watch that video. I believe Monica sent that to you. What we found in facilitating students' 10-year plans is that certainly it takes the initial purchase of the curriculum and purchasing the consumable workbooks each year, which is a fairly nominal cost compared to most textbooks that our schools are purchasing. But the big piece we found in the beginning was access to technology. A lot of the schools are limited on computer lab space. So what we've been able to do, we had some SB 70 grant funding, and we were able to purchase a laptop cart for each of the school sites. And we're going to be purchasing some more technology this year, probably iPads, so that students can continue to update their plans. Ideally, when students have access to the computer, they can do all the word processing for their resumes, cover letters, all of the tools that they're going to build throughout the course. The internet access is obviously important for them to get onto the online 10-year plan. So we had to make sure the laptop cards had routers, etc. So it's something to think about in your schools as far as how many sections could you have, how are students going to get to the computers, how are you going to schedule that. And what we noticed early on was the freshman course was going great, but at the time we started it, we didn't have any follow-up or touch points. So that really led to the follow-up curriculum being developed. And I can't stress enough the last bullet point, teacher enthusiasm. We have over and above seen that the teachers who want to teach this course and who see the importance of equity and access to this information for all students are wonderful, and they thrive and the students thrive. The teachers continue to come back for more professional development. They continue to enhance their programs. The teachers who are forced to teach the class, and unfortunately with the way faculty structuring sometimes happens, people don't have a choice. But this is not a course that I would recommend forcing anyone into. It takes a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and our teachers or our administrators locally always come back and say, you need the right teachers, and we've learned it the hard way. And so each year we've had some folks exit and new folks enter, and it's really nice to now see really solid teams in place at our high school. In using the 10-year plan after it's created, obviously students are articulating their goals and checking on that as they go forward. But I think it's important for teachers to realize how beneficial it is. I remember when I was teaching on the first day at school, I would always give out a little half sheet of paper and ask students to tell me what their class schedule was, contact information for home. This was prior to Aries and all the fancy programs that have that. And I'd ask students to let me know, some of the things that they're interested in. It would have been so nice to have access to a 10-year plan because I could have engaged my learners and reached into knowing what their interests were as a way of motivating them within my classes. So what we've been working on with the schools is looking at it as an entire school adoption so that even the teachers not teaching this curriculum know how to log in to the 10-year plan for all of their students and can engage their students in a meaningful way based on what the student is interested in for their future. At the college side, we also are really selfishly looking forward to having these students matriculate here. Again, our first cohort are seniors this year, the students you saw in the video actually. And we will now have access to their 10-year plan as a starting point. So rather than the college counselor starting with what do you want to do after college, you already know what you want to do, let's get you into the appropriate student education plan for your major to complete your goals. I want to show you a few of the online sites. I just think these are great resources. So I'm going to exit out of here for a moment. So what you'll find, and unfortunately I have a little toolbar that gets in the way at the top, you'll see on my 10yearplan.com, this is what I'm talking about when you log in and look. So I have the district level administrator access, but I want to show you this report feature. So when you're working with your students and you want to know how they're progressing, and I'm going to put in this school year so I can see this will be for all of our local students. You can see here, this is a new group that's working on their plans this semester. Down here, you're seeing, in the 90, 89, 100%, this was last semester students who took the class. Now they're mixed in, I didn't parcel it out by grade and semester, but this is a great way of checking the students' progress. And you can actually go in, so if I want to see what Kevin needs to finish, I can go in and say, okay, this is what he has left to do. So that's one of the sites that you're going to have access to with the plan. And I need to move this bar. The careerchoices.com website is great. You have wonderful resources for the activities in the book. And the Teacher's Lounge, if I can move this bar, this is my challenge with this program. The Teacher's Lounge, I think, is the most useful place that I have found in teaching the curriculum myself. So at the bottom, you'll see there are introduction videos by Dean Blanton. It's a really nice, consistent way to kick off each chapter. And he's just a great motivational speaker, and students like to hear from him. He's an Olympic athlete, and now he's an announcer for the Clippers. So I think that there's just sort of that appeal of somebody who works in media. But he does a great job of introducing each chapter. And then there's countless resources. So you can see there's newsletters Georgette sends out regularly. You can get all types of tips for every chapter and activity. So we don't have time to go into each step, but if you have questions at the end, I'm happy to go more into depth with those. So getting back to this, so again, the reporting features is a wonderful thing that we're using locally and actually working with Academic Innovations on requests that our teachers have made for additional reporting features. Things like running a query based on students' major interest, or their top 3 career choices across an entire class so that we can target outreach events, guest speakers, campus visits around the students' articulated interests. There's, again, plenty of curriculum support, pacing guides, and really for any new teachers who are going to be teaching this course, it's a really nice way of just plug and play, you get it going, and every resource you need is there. I would say if you are a new teacher that attending the implementation workshops I think is really helpful, as well as the Focus on Freshman Conference in the summer. We've always brought our new teachers to that conference because it's a really comprehensive overview and planning time to get started for the new school year. So our goals for the entire initiative, as I said, we realized the 9th grade class was going well, but we needed a follow-up. And we had to articulate what is it that we want for all of our students. College and career readiness is that nebulous term we throw around so casually, but what does that really mean? And there's so many interpretations. What we're trying to encompass in this is that students have a very clear career pathway articulated that is meaningful because they have done the research necessary, not some choice that their parents picked. And that has informed the appropriate major or post-secondary plan. And being ready for that plan, it means they need to be on track with their college level classes. So being on track, especially for math and English, is really important. Having the informed declared major is something that at the college level, we're being asked to produce as part of the new 1456 legislation that came out of the Student Success Task Force. And a lot of people say to me, well, Lauren, how are they supposed to know what they want to do? College is supposed to be about finding yourself. And I'm sure you've heard it up in your region. We just don't have the luxury of that anymore. Students don't have the finances to be able to find themselves in college. As a system, we can't support the amount of remediation that we're being asked to provide. So we are really trying to make sure students have a clear path when they come in. And also the research shows that if they take a class within their program of study, within that first year, they're going to be more successful in completing. So all of the things we've touched on produce a number of different outcomes, that students have done the explorations, the financial literacy development, and that they've gone through this very structured process to be exposed to post-secondary at an early age. Now, not every region can offer dual enrollment, and we understand that. We see the advantage of that being that as 9th graders and high school students, whether or not they choose to take the course for dual credit, are learning about the process of enrolling with the college, and they're learning about future opportunities to take dual enrollment classes. So there's a lot that goes into that, but this one semester course is a great introduction. And now what we've done, last year we met with our administrators and said, okay, freshman class is in place. What do we need to do in the follow-up grades? Do your teachers want to create it, or do you need some support with that? So they asked us to provide a sample curriculum, and I was really happy to work on that. Again, having taught 12th grade English, it was something that I really saw firsthand with my former students, what they needed during those years of their high school planning. So we worked together, Mindy, who's the author of the Career Choices curriculum, my dean, Diane Hollins, and myself worked together on the draft curriculum for the follow-up modules. We brought the first draft to over 40 of our local teachers, counselors, administrators last year. It was late February. And we spent an entire day going over that curriculum and getting their feedback, what needed to be changed. We worked on the edit, and this year we had schools piloting the 10th grade follow-up. We've made sure that the curriculum is aligned with the Common Core standards. We know that's what everyone's working on right now. And I mentioned all the other goals that we have here in preparing our future workforce. With the Common Core standards, a key component, and those of you who are working intimately with the standards have seen, that the college career readiness standards are uniform throughout. So that's really what we're focused on, is students having real-world experiences that relate to developing job skills, building their resume. Our local students have to do a certain number of community service hours. So in 9th grade, when they're learning about that requirement, we suggest that they choose their community service hours wisely, so that it relates to their career goals. We want to make sure that they're not just shooting in the dark at random experiences, but finding ways to build their network, to build the skills that they have that will take them forward into future work experiences. We also want to just get that message to them that they need to stay on track with their studies. Ninth grade, we talked about the career choices curriculum, and I'm not going to go over that slide again. But one of the things that we emphasize, again, within the course is this message. We created this poster this past year to show students that there is a cost for remediation. And this was something that actually we borrowed from Sonoma County. So Kate, who's on this webinar, probably remembers their version of it. It had a dog on it. You may have seen it. So we created this to say, how much money are you going to spend in college if you are not on track? And this is the simple poster version that's in the high school classroom. And then there's a handout version that's two-sided that has this on the back. And it basically shows them the number of hours, lecture and lab, and the cost for the classes with enrollment fees and textbooks that it's going to cost them total to take those basic skills courses. And when students see that, it really registers, oh wow, I need to really focus on this. I need to take my EAP seriously. I need to do well in A through G classes. And we want to make sure all students understand this. Studies that came out of West Ed a few years ago interviewed students across California, and nearly every student they interviewed said, I had no idea that I was going to be assessed for English and math when I got to college. I thought I could just go to community college and nobody would care how I did. And we know that that's not true. So this is just one attempt, again, at getting the message out early. So now we have this freshman course in place. Wonderful. What happens next? So in the 10th grade, the follow-up curriculum is designed at, and in my ideal mind, offered in the end of the school year so that students have had an entire year of growth following freshman seminar. And in 10th grade, they'd go back and reevaluate their goals. They'd look at high demand careers and look at the careers they researched in 9th grade. How can those relate to growing fields? We know that students are going to we need to prepare them for careers that we don't even know about yet. We have so many technological advances going on. So we want students to understand that there are trends within the labor market. For the bulk of the research in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, we're using the Career One-Stop website sponsored by the U.S. Department of Labor because it really is a one-shop place for everything students need to know about careers, labor market trends, appropriate education. It breaks it down by what programs exist in different states. So that allows students to start that process. Rearticulating the career goal, again, informs the post-secondary goal. So we want them to learn about college access, thinking about the financial picture of going to college, and then ending that unit with updating their 10-year plan once again. In 11th grade, they're going to be looking at STEM-related careers. Not to say that every student wants to study STEM, we really understand that, but there is a lot of money and scholarships going into STEM-related majors and students who want to follow that pathway. We're always encouraged, at the state and federal level to encourage students to study STEM. One of the things I tell our students, though, when I go out to do presentations in the classroom is you don't have to be a science, technology, engineering, math major. You could be the journalism major who writes about the newest inventions within the STEM field. Or, you could be the media personality who's presenting about them. Or you could be the creative graphic designer who's working on highlighting how these systems work. There's so many ways to tie to STEM. So again, students learn about that, reaffirm or change their career path. And if the career path changes in their 10-year plan, that means there will be changes in their educational plan as well. Once they've articulated the major that they want to pursue and identified the post-secondary colleges, they actually complete in 11th grade a college planning timeline. It's going to take them all the way through summer and into their entire 12th grade year, and they're going to have to articulate at what month they need to complete different parts of the college-going process. So at the end of 11th grade, they have a really clear vision of what needs to happen in 12th grade. In 12th grade, they have the planning timeline. They step into the process of applying for college and post-secondary schooling, applying for scholarships, and they update their resume, which they've been doing all along, but they get a really great resume at the end of 12th grade so that whether they're going into the workforce full-time or going to work part-time in college or get an internship, they're ready to go with that professional portfolio. Our schools have often had mock interviews linked to their economics classes, but it wasn't uniform. So part of the follow-up is to make sure every single student in 12th grade goes through a mock interview with one of our local business leaders. This way they have that experience of walking through the process filling out job applications, whether or not they're actually going to follow through with it. We want them to have that portfolio so that when they come back to it later, they have a sample to draw from. In my ideal version, again, so 10th and 11th grade ideally would be offered at the end of the school year, after testing, of course. In 12th grade, the whole unit is bifurcated so that half of it is in the fall as students need to apply for college and scholarship and financial aid, and the second half is helping them plan for that transition to college and career. And everything down to looking at their student aid report that they get after filing FAFSA to know this is what I can afford to do when I go to college. Now I have my ideal budget, but what is my budget when I leave high school? From the college standpoint, that student education plan that's on here is very important. Some post-secondary pathways, like a four-year college perhaps, might have a degree roadmap that a student can follow. So in the unit, students are directed to go and spend time researching the college that they are going to attend, everything from housing, meal plans, transportation, all of that, as well as the degree roadmap they need to plan for, and planning that first class schedule for the first semester or term. At the community college level, it depends on what they want to do. Their student ed plan is going to be based on their goals. So we provide a sort of generic template, but knowing that it's going to make it easier for them to update that with an academic counselor once they get to the college. And of course, the last piece is always updating the 10-year plan, reminding students that that's a living document that they will continue to use as they progress through. I know some of you probably have sample sets of the career choices, the essentials version. That's what we're using in the high schools currently. The career choices and changes is what I'm using in my college-located class, and it has these additional chapters in it. So depending on what your schools are looking at and the population you're working with, you could use either textbook. And I know that the consumable workbook that we use in our high schools matches the activities in the career choices and changes. It doesn't go through these additional 5 chapters, but a lot of the activities are the same. And if you were looking for the cost-effective way with the workbook, that would be one option, and Monica can always tell you more information about that. All of these additional chapters I think are great though, so if you are looking at that curriculum to purchase, I have to say just firsthand from teaching it, the students are engaged. The interactive portfolio does take more time, so that's something else to think about when you're looking at the pacing guides. They are going to need more time online to work on their plans. I am following the recommendations that were set out with the curriculum and offering my course as sort of a flipped classroom. So my students are doing a lot of the work in their book, in the online plan as well, on their own independently, and then we're working on discussions in class, activities, presentations, and helping them refine their ability to present themselves in a professional manner. With our implementation currently, last year one of our local school districts adopted the 10-year plan as a graduation requirement, which goes into effect with the freshmen of 2013, so this coming year's freshmen. But they've already been implementing it for the last few years, and the other school district, again, has had it in place since 2009, so the first cohort are seniors, and they're using the 10th grade follow-up this year. It's kind of funny because the juniors who didn't get the 10th grade follow-up actually started to get Focus Stay Focused Club because they said, we want to update our plans too. So we're really excited about their enthusiasm. And then again, we're rolling out 11th and 12th grade over the next couple of years. Some schools have said they want to just jump in and catch the students up and do 2 modules in 1 year. They don't want students to miss it. So we say, go for it. We're excited and we'll support them in whatever way that we can. Again, the logistics of this are access to the technology and just making sure that we're working with the schools to make the curriculum work within their implementation of the Common Core. We know that our school districts are doing a lot of professional development this summer for the Common Core, and we're going to be working with them to just make sure that everybody can see that the follow-up modules are not something in addition to what people need to teach, but it's rather addressing what they're being required to teach with the new set of standards. As you're looking within your region, we have a leadership structure that works for us. So I'm just going to throw this out there. We have an executive steering committee that's comprised of our superintendents, our college president, and executive vice president. We have a researcher from UCSB, community members, And then we go to the district leadership with our site-based administrators, principals, assistant principals, and we have regular meetings with them. At the school level, we have implementation teams led by those administrative leaders, but including all the student support professionals and the grade level teachers. We know that to have a school-wide initiative, you need buy-in from everybody. This is just a graphic of our partnerships. Those of you who came to our conference last month saw this, and we wanted to just show how many people are involved in this initiative. Early on in the PowerPoint, I showed you that we have all these different support programs in place, and many of them were sort of duplicating purposes or hitting the same population over and over. So we want to make sure everybody in our community knows about all the services available and that every student is aware of their options. So in red, you'll see all of the educational partners, so our local school districts, our county ed office. Through county ed, we have partners in education, and they provide guest speakers. They put on career fairs, they organize the mock interviews and the volunteers for that. They have an internship program. We've been able to get the teachers out into the business for externships. One thing we found early on was when teachers were instructing students about the industry sector pathways, some of the folks said, we don't know about these because we went straight from college into teaching and we don't have enough experience. So really working with our business community has been a big component of this. We are working with UCSB and the UC Evaluation Center to do a longitudinal study of our programs. We think having an external evaluation is hugely important, so we've been surveying our students, starting with last year's seniors who didn't have the course, and then this year we surveyed 7,000 students locally. So we're going to continue to collect that data. We have business partners. Academic Innovations has helped us immensely with all of the professional development and support for the curriculum. We have a local company, Creative Wealth International, that has this interactive money game, and our teachers use that to support the budget unit as a fun, engaging, contextualized learning experience. And then we have wonderful nonprofit partners who do financial aid workshops, have tutors out in the high schools. They actually, CalSOAP got a grant and helped us purchase the workbooks last year. So it's been nice to streamline what we're all doing and to get all of our intentions pointed in the same direction in a meaningful way. I will say that we have definitely encountered some pitfalls, so things to be aware of is just, if you are looking at the dual enrollment model, ninth graders being on board with the college offering, we had to work on that. Making sure students were on track with the rigor and that instructors were teaching to that level. The funding is always, a concern in any region, especially when it comes to the technology piece. We knew we needed a point person at each site and within the high school for interaction and keeping the momentum going. If you were looking at a dual enrollment model, not every college has a professional development studies department as we do. So that's something to think about. We have a personal development department, which many colleges do, but usually you need a master's degree. So that would not be an appropriate fit for our high school teachers because not all of them have masters. And we need our high school teachers to meet our minimum qualifications at the college. The benefits, I think, are inherent. We've covered a lot of these. First and foremost is always our students, and that's what we bring to the center of every conversation around our efforts. We want students' needs to be served, and we continually reevaluate whether or not that's taking place. And listening to the student voice, I think, is the most important part of that. Parents, of course, want their kids engaged. They love that we can offer free college courses to their kids. And really helping the parents understand the college-going process is huge. The secondary schools here have noted a change in their school climate and culture. They've had, again, reduced suspension rates, increased attendance. Really the language of students' college-going plans is completely different than what it was 4 years ago. And the teachers and students say over and over again, I realize how important it is. And I think perhaps in the past we didn't emphasize enough for what's going to happen after you graduate. Our post-secondary institution, again, I mentioned we selfishly have our own goals in this, that we want students to be ready when they come to us. We want them to be on track. And we want to make sure that we're listening to our community. Our businesses are saying to us, this is what we want students to be ready for when they exit post-secondary, and we need to train them appropriately. So that's it for the presentation, but I'm going to hop back into our WebEx and make sure we have time for questions.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody right now. Oh, somebody's phone's ringing.
Academic Innovations, this is Georgette.
Understand what it is and, you know.
Okay. Now, if anybody has any questions, I also want to note that Mindy Bingham, our author, is a participant here, and so you can direct any questions that you have towards her because it's a treat that she is actually here. Does anybody have any questions?
I do have a question. If this was going to be implemented, you know, in the 9th grade year using the Career Choices and Changes workbook, I mean, truly, what's the recommendation, semester versus year-long course?
You know, I would say it depends on what the pacing is for your school. And again, this is Lauren. Our schools, because we're offering it through dual enrollment, it has to be on a semester because of the way we do all of our grading. What we did find early on was that the AVID classes, because they're year-long, they weren't having the AVID students take the course. So what they implemented this year was an integrated model over the course of the whole year just for the AVID classes. So they're doing AVID and Career Choices over the length of the entire year, and we're actually enrolling them and giving them the college credit in spring. But there are pacing guides for both, and I would say, you know, a semester goes quickly, but if you're going to also implement the follow-up modules, I would say a semester is very doable, and our schools are backing it up with the health requirement, which is really how they made it work to begin with.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions from any other group?
Yes, Siskiyou has a question here.
Are the choices materials, do they come in an online version versus a workbook version?
I think probably I'm the best person to answer that. The workbook and the online piece go together because what we found over the years is that when the students do, particularly freshmen, when we're talking about freshmen in high school, when the students do their work in class and write in their book first, and then they go online to enter their data, it gives them an opportunity, as Lauren said earlier, to refine that data. But also when we've done observations with classes, the students just have a better experience doing it in that two-step process. When you get a chance to really study the program and go online, you'll see it's pretty comprehensive. And to keep a lot of that information in your mind for a long time, particularly when you're 14 years old, would be a challenge. Yes, there will be a percentage of students who can do it, but there would be a high percentage of students that it would be a much better experience in the two-step process.
And I think that, to clarify, I believe the question was, will an online or electronic version of the book be available?
No, we don't have that, but when you look at My 10-Year Plan Interactive, which is the one we recommend for the college level, it is like having the whole curriculum together. The Essentials version, which is what the high schools use in Santa Barbara, use only about 25 of the activities, and it's structured in a very different way.
Thank you. We have another question from Siskiyou.
I noticed you had talked about a summer bridge to bring your middle school students up to speed for what will be coming in high school. What have you seen as successful for preparing students beyond that, like say starting in the 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, to set them up for success when they start with this curriculum in the 9th grade?
That's a great question. So I mentioned we have a Thrive initiative in our county. So Thrive, if those of you haven't heard of it, it actually comes from a national movement called Strive, and it's all about cradle to career and collective impact within a community. So we're sort of the secondary, post-secondary piece of our Thrive initiative locally, and they've been focused on building from the 0 to 5 and looking at those academic and non-academic indicators in the early grades. So one of the key points, you know, second grade to 3rd grade, you know, students go from learning to read to reading to learn, so that's a pivotal point. And introducing, you know, language of all the industry sectors and talking about careers early is a big piece of this. The Partners in Education guest speakers do go out at any grade level, so it's raising awareness of the classroom teacher to request those presentations. And then as students move up, we know 6th grade is very pivotal for their math scores. So it's really working on having them understand the importance of being on track early and then offering them opportunities so to just learn about careers. So what Thrive has done with Partners in Ed is do the career fairs for the middle school, junior high grades, so that students are able to just learn about a lot of different careers. They're able to meet with people in the community and just sort of front load the vocabulary. But what we've talked about is, as pivotal as the transition from 8th to 9th grade is, elementary into junior high or middle school is also a key transition point. So the middle schools and junior highs are looking at how they're supporting that process. And then again, because we have these great Thrive partners, they're really focused on what's happening literally from prenatal and parent education all the way through to 8th grade.
We have a question from Liz. She says, how do you do college rigor in 9th grade?
That's a great question. Our dual enrollment classes, again, we have academic and CTE. So the CTE class is what this particular course falls under, in personal planning. And it is a 3-unit class, but we offer it at the high schools for credit, no credit, because we don't want to set up a 9th grader to have a bad grade on their college transcript, you know, right off the gate. So the big part of the accountability is students have to complete the 10-year plan. That's the essential part for them to earn the college credit. And setting the rigor expectations is working on standard English conventions, setting that high expectation for their final portfolio and their in-class presentations. And it is a process. It's one of those things where some students have the maturity and are ready to go for it. Other students, it just takes them a little bit longer. But by setting that expectation, just like Erin said in the video, she was our lead teacher right from the start. She said, when you set that expectation that you are a college student and this is the level you're going to work to, the students are rising to that occasion. So I don't know the best way to say for all of our dual enrollment classes. I mean, for some of them, students have to pass the prerequisite assessment, like math and English. They have to test into it. Same thing with a higher level foreign language. For any other class, the students are held to the same expectations that any on-campus section would hold. I don't know if that answered your question, but, and I would say at the high school, it's a little different because students are in class 5 days a week, whereas on the main college campus, it's only a couple days. So it's definitely, I would say, a sheltered experience. They're getting a lot more access to the curriculum in the high school than they would get at the college.
Anybody else has any questions, please chime in. No? Okay. I'm taking that as nobody has any other questions, so that's great. Also, please know that I will send a follow-up email, as I said, with the recording of this WebEx, and I will have a link to information, and you can feel free and call me with any questions, concerns, curiosities, anything at all. Mindy, do you have any closing comments at all?
I just want to thank everybody for coming and listening to this. I've been just amazed working with Santa Barbara City College and just to see what they've been able to do. Dr. Wintermeyer and Dr. Hollums are incredibly gracious at answering people's questions and sharing their enthusiasm for what they've designed here. And please, because we're with Academic Innovations, if you decide to do this, if you decide to use the Career Choices curriculum, we always say our job starts when you purchase, because we're very big. We have a lot of professional development, and we know our job is then to help your staff be able to really do this curriculum the way so you can have the same kind of results that we're seeing in all these other schools. So, and thank you, everyone. And if you want to talk to me, all you have to do is talk to Monica, and she can put you in charge of me, because I love to talk to people who are thinking about it, using it, whatever. So please do get a hold of me.
Excellent. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming and speaking. Question I would have real quick, a copy of this PowerPoint. I know we're going to get a copy of the whole conversation, but I'm going to be honest. I'd love to steal the PowerPoint, edit it a little bit, and bring it to my school board and to my teachers to help me make that sale. Is that going to be possible?
It's fine with me. Do you want to email Monica and just so I can get, or I can send it to Monica and she can be in touch with you?
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, and if anybody needs to reach me, again, this is Lauren. You can just look up our dual enrollment page at Santa Barbara City College, or Liz and Kate know how to get in touch with me up there. I work a lot with Megan at Shasta College and Eva, so if you know any of those folks, they know where I am. And also, we have a Get Focused, Stay Focused website. So I invite you to visit the site, and there's actually a parents corner in there. That's where those videos are housed, and you can see all the information as you're doing outreach within your community. Because what we realized was this isn't just an effort within our schools. This is changing the culture within our community, and having parents allow their students to plan their own future rather than the parents helicoptering around. So I'm happy to help in any way, and I wish you all the best as you're planning for the future of your own students.
And I should remind you all, Lauren will be doing a session at the Get Focused, Stay Focused conference this summer in Los Angeles, and the dates I think are July 21st to 23rd. So Lauren will be doing one of the strands those 3 days, and Dr. Hollums will be doing one of the strands those 3 days. So if you have people that are really going to be some of your administrators, leaders, or instructional leadership, you might take a look at that, and that you can find information about that on www.focusonfreshmen.com, and I know Monica will also send you some links to that. It's a great, last year, how many people did you bring, Lauren, to that conference?
We brought 40 educators last year.
Yeah, it's a great motivational launch if you're going to be jumping off and doing this.
And just so everyone knows, Dr. Hollums will lead an entire strand on this initiative that we have here, and I'm going to facilitate a strand on the college version of the first year experience for incoming college students. Because that's something we realize is now our local students will have this plan, our out-of-area students won't, and so we need to meet the needs of both populations.
Okay, this is Siskiyous, and we want to say thank you to all of you. We're going to sign out and have our local conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, we'll be in touch. This is Tim Drury and Elk Creek High School and Jeff Flint. So we're out. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tim. I'll be in touch. Bye-bye.